As we headed down the Elbe from Hamburg, we were in close proximity with large freighters, plying their trade on this busy river. Fall was now well advanced, and the foliage along the banks was clothed in the russet colours of autumn. "11 miles downstream we passed Meeting Point, where inbound and outbound ships are hailed from the shore in a moving ceremony which has been practised for more than 50 years. Here the national anthem of the Port of Registry of the passing ship is played on loudspeakers, and the appropriate national flag is raised and dipped. Details of where she has come from or where she is bound are announced, and she is welcome to Hamburg, or bid farewell and wished a safe journey. We reached Cuxhaven at the mouth of the river just after dark. The marina was closed for the winter, except for ourselves and a couple of sailboats, homeward bound after the show. At noon the following day we headed out into the North Sea, where strong winds were once again on the nose for the overnight passage. It was not yet daylight when we turned in between the Frisian Islands. The tortuous channel had to be navigated with great care, following the flashing lights of the hundreds of red and green marks. The satellite view clearly shows the maze of sandbanks on the approach to the town of Harlingen. It was just after dawn when we entered the small harbour, which was so unmistakably Dutch that it could have been nowhere other than Holland. We tied up right in the centre of town. We had a schedule to keep, and the following day we were underway at dawn. The ferry entering the harbour was from the Frisian island of Terschelling. We visited the fuel barge moored in the busy commercial harbour, which was tucked away without imposing its presence on the traditional town. This was our first visit to a fuel dock since leaving Dover. As the price was high and had to be paid for in cash, euros only, we took on just 250 US gallons, enough to provide us with a safety margin to get us to Dusseldorf against the strong currents of the Rhine and the Isel. We were now in the world of the barge. The ships on the Elbe were ocean-going, but we were now entering the amazing network of Europe's inland waterways, which transport a huge amount of freight. Some of these barges are family affairs, providing both a home and a livelihood for their owners. Others run 24 hours a day with double crews, working 2 weeks on followed by 1 week off. The living quarters are at the stern, and although not in this case, usually carry a car or two. We headed south down a channel deep enough for venture, just 2 hours either side of high tide. We passed through a lock into the huge freshwater lake called the Isel. This had been part of the North Sea until it was divided off by a 20-mile-long dike built in 1932. We shared the lock with a barge and had to watch out for the powerful wash from its twin rudders. There was not much change in level, as the lock serves to separate the tidal and salty North Sea from the non-tidal freshwater lake. The Isel is 425 square miles in area, and the low-lying land was barely visible on the horizon. We still had strong headwinds, but this time the spray was fresh water, which washed away the salt accumulated on the North Sea. From the Isel we entered the Isel River. We stopped for the night in Kampen, another unmistakably Dutch town. The following morning we passed under a lift bridge which had been raised for us and headed up the Isel against a 3-knot current. Huge flocks of cormorants exploded from the water ahead of us. We continued our journey up the Isel to the mighty Rhine, and then upstream to Dusseldorf.